trả tiền cho bạn Như.
And self-service options, including safe, secure online payment options, transaction history, and paperless billing. To take advantage of these self-service options and more, go to suburbanpropane.com and click on My Account.
Can everybody hear us okay?
Who's on? Okay. Well, it is 10 o'clock. Everybody ready? Yep.
I haven't got confirmation that they can hear us.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We will call to order the Executive Committee meeting of the Cape Fear COG for January 12th to order. Welcome, everybody. I appreciate everybody taking the time to be here and giving up your time for the COG. Pretty important stuff here. So thank you all for being here. Lynn Barbie has agreed to do our invocation and pledge. So Lynn, if you would please. Yes.
All right, we can stand by our head, please. Oh, gracious God, as we come before you today to discuss important matters, we ask for your guidance and wisdom as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. We ask that you bestow your guidance and blessing upon each attendee. May we honor one another by keeping an open mind, an open heart, and use our best judgment to make decisions for our constituents. In your holy name, amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor Barbie. All right. Are there any amendments to the agenda today? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Lynn Barbie, Brenda Bozeman. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, moving on. Okay, so we have some vacancies on this board due to an election in November. And I'm going to turn this over to Alan. He will get us through this as we appoint some new members.
So yes, thank you, Mike. So we have two vacancies to discuss. So the first one is Jan Dawson's seat. She was, didn't run for re-election. And she was serving as the Pender County delegate. I think that we sort of have discussed over the years the idea that when a delegate is a county delegate, municipal delegate is vacant, and there's an at-large member from that same county, then it makes sense to fill that vacancy with that person. And so I think I've discussed with most of you the idea that it would make sense for Teresa, who is currently the at-large municipal member, to move to fill Jan's spot as the Pender County municipal representative. I have spoken with Teresa about it. She's thrilled to fill that role.
I don't know about thrilled.
She's happy to, at least.
Thrilled.
And so I think that is something that makes sense and that I would recommend, which would then create a vacancy in the municipal at-large seat, which has been with Pender County for a long time. Teresa, you've been on the board for a while now.
Was it 17?
Yeah. So what we have typically done is rotated that municipal at-large seat from county to county. It was with I think Brunswick County before it was with Pender County. And honestly, can't remember the last time we had a New Hanover County. I can't remember. It was before my time. The last time we had a New Hanover County at-large member. And we have discussed in the past having the city of Wilmington being important to be a member of our board as our largest municipality. And so Shakima is both in attendance today. She's the city of Wilmington delegate, is interested and willing to serve on the executive committee, and just so happens to also have been the only New Hanover County municipal representative who expressed an interest. Seems like a shoo-in to me. Likewise, we have a vacancy for our municipal seat in Columbus County since Lamont's departure. And while we absolutely love Terry Mann, he also happens to be the only Columbus County municipal representative who expressed an interest in serving on the executive committee. And so while it is certainly at the discretion of the board, it makes good sense to me, and I would certainly recommend that we appoint Teresa to fill the Pender County municipal seat, that we appoint Shakima to fill the at-large municipal seat, and that we appoint Terry to serve the Columbus County municipal seat. I'll leave it up to the board. Now, that being said, I don't know if everybody knows everybody. So if, I don't know, Terry, do you want to give a little little summary of who you are and how you got here?
Okay. From Wyville, lived there all my life, except when I was off at school at East Carolina. Came back to the family business. My grandfather started a clothing store in Wyville in 1922. My dad and his sister took it over when my grandfather passed away, and myself and my daddy's sister's son took it over. And in 2019, right before COVID, we decided to retire. We didn't have any kids that were interested in the business, and a retail clothing store is kind of hard to sell. So that was in 2000. We closed, and my father, that was in 2019 when we closed. My father passed away in 2000. And in 2005, I decided to run for city council, which I could never do if he was alive, because he would have said it'll kill your business. But I just wanted to get involved. I love my town. And so I ran for city council, served 4 years. And in 2009, ran for mayor. And council's 4 years terms. In Wyville, the mayor's 2-year term. So in November, was elected to my 9th term in Wyville. Glad to be here. Always been trying to be active in the COG, and appreciate what they do. And I'm here to do what I can do to help.
Thank you, Jared. Shakima.
Shakima Clinton Quintana. I was born and raised in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I moved to Raleigh in 1999 and relocated to Wilmington in 2019 to work for Live Oak Bank. I am a mother. I'm married. I think this is my second marriage in like 11 or 12 years. Don't tell my husband I can't get the date right. Huh?
You think this is your second marriage?
No, this is my second marriage. I was thinking on the years, how long I've been married. So yeah, second marriage, mother of 4, grandmother of 4, and love all of them dearly. I have been one of those people who have parents and grandparents of educators and people who are just advocates and activists in the political field. We were always taught to help people and to get involved in our community. And so that's where I am and where I've been. Upon moving here to Wilmington, North Carolina, it just seemed like it had such an ugly history that everyone was kind of sweeping under the rug, and I didn't like that. So let's just get that dirt off underneath there and let's make some changes. Mm-hmm. So here I am, and decided after my mother passed away last year in February of 2025 that I was running for Wilmington City Council. And I had been wanting to do it for 4 years. So it wasn't something that I was just like, woke up one day and said, I'm doing it. It was definitely a process and a method to my madness. So here I am and ready to work. And let's do all these things to make Wilmington a lot better, but not just Wilmington, the surrounding counties as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Lisa, did you want to add anything?
I can.
And Teresa, I love the shoes.
I like skateboard a little bit.
Well, a woman can never have enough,
That's right. So I grew up in Surf City, which is located on an island that is composed of 3 townships. So we have Surf City, and to the north is North Topsail Beach, and to the south is Topsail Beach. And so Surf City used to be a small beach town, and now it is now a town with a beach. We've grown tremendously, and with the help of getting a little bit more sewer, we will continue to grow out on the 17 corridor. But I grew up there as a commercial fisherman's daughter. We, to this day, it's been passed down to my son. We have, oyster leases, clam gardens, we soft shell crab, we do whatever the season brings, we do some commercial fishing. I have been in real estate for the last 26 years and joining city council in 2017 and then becoming mayor in 22, 23. It will definitely tell you that it does affect your business. But I have three other ladies that work in the office with me that are awesome and keep us going. So it's been a pleasure to serve, and I look forward to continue to serve.
Thank you. Thank you to the three of you. Be willing to step up. Pardon me? Oh, and your guest?
Yes, this is my guest.
Like to,
Sean, you want to say a few words?
Sure. I've been on council now for, I guess, at least 5 years. Got appointed. It was a vacancy, so I stepped in. I got involved with Parks and Rec before that. And got big volunteering into the town and the area. Any place that I live, that's what I do. Born and raised in New York, Long Island. Moved to southwestern PA and lived out in the country for about 16 years. I was a facilities director at a local rural hospital down there. And moved here after my son joined the Marine Corps and got involved in the town and then got appointed to council and then ran and got elected and got 2 more years left. And I like it. I've been to the COG dinners and stuff, and I think I like what you guys do. And I really am engrossed in this region now that I live here.
welcome.
Yes, definitely will.
All right, so I think as far as Terry, Shakima, and Teresa, probably best to let's just do this as a slate. Easier than trying to do it individually. So we have a slate of members, being Shakima, Terry, and Teresa. I need a motion to accept. Somebody would like to
So
make that
moved.
motion?
I'll second.
Mayor Barbie, Steph Walker. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Welcome.
Thank you and welcome. We appreciate that. You are now members.
Yeah, so now you guys can vote on all the subsequent, well, Teresa could always vote, but the 2 new members can always, can now vote on the rest of the items on the agenda.
Okay, so we move on to the approval of the December 8th minutes. You should have gotten it in your packet via email. I hope you had a chance to read over them. I need a motion to approve. Brenda, second.
Second.
Shakima. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Thank you all. Where we get to the riveting part of any meeting. Our annual audit. Try to stay awake. Robbie, it's all yours.
All righty. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. Thank you for having us here. On behalf of myself, Robbie Bittner, PB Mayors, and PB Mayors, we thank you for allowing us to continue to serve the COG. It is always a pleasure. We always enjoy coming down and annoying Alan and Dawn and their team and the program directors as we go through our audit process. I do want to say a special thank you to them. We do a lot of work. We ask a lot of questions, we dig and ask for a lot of documentation. So without their assistance, there's no way that we can get an audit completed. As you were aware, it's January of 26. It is not October or November of 25. Typically, we would obviously it was presented to you in December, sort of the reason why we did get that final compliance supplement released, and we were able to get everything issued prior to December 31st. We're hoping that we don't see this type of problem in the future, but we never know what the OMB holds, as this is by and large the furthest back this supplement has ever been released. So we're hoping that we don't see this type of thing in the future. With that, I'm going to start on page 1. No, really, I am. Audit opinion. As auditors, our job is to provide our opinion as to whether or not your financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with GAAP or generally accepted accounting principles. There are 4 types of opinions we can release or we can issue. The most and the highest level of assurance that we can provide is the unmodified or clean opinion, which the CFCOG did earn a clean opinion this year. I do want to point out on that page, you'll see what we call an emphasis of a matter paragraph. The Continuum of Care program has traditionally been what we call a non-major fund. This year, due to some of the deferrals within the fund, it actually qualified under the GASB standards as major. What does that mean? That means that it becomes its own opinion unit, as well as it is removed from that aggregate non-major to its own fund and brought forth in the front of the financial statements. So you see this emphasis of matter here under GASB Statement 100 that qualifies as a restatement. But while there is a restatement, it is by standard only, because we are classifying the Continuum of Care program from out of the aggregate non-major to its own major fund. So just be aware of that. In addition to our opinion on the financial statements, we also issued our report in accordance with government auditing standards on your compliance with laws, regulations, grants, contracts, as well as identifying significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal control. What is a material weakness? A material weakness is a weakness or a combination of deficiencies in controls that have or have the ability to cause a material misstatement of financials. A significant deficiency, while not as severe as material weakness, still warrants attention by those charged with governance, in this case, council. Happy to say we did not have any material non-compliance, nor did we have any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal control required to be disclosed in that report this year. So clean report there. Moving on to page 54. In addition to our opinion on the financial statements and our Yellow Book compliance and internal control and compliance report, we also issued opinions on your compliance with federal and state grants in accordance with the uniform guidance for the federal grants and the State Single Audit Implementation Act for those state grants. So you'll see on pages 54 and 57 the beginnings of our opinion here. Not only do we present our opinion on your compliance with your federal grants, your major programs, as well as the state, we also identify any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses over that compliance in these reports. Happy to say, again, similar to the clean opinion, we have a clean opinion on both the opinion on under the uniform guidance and our opinion under the State Single Audit Act for your federal and state grants. And we did not identify any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal control related to that compliance this year. And you'll see on page 60 in our schedule of findings and question calls, we tested both the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act program, or the Workforce Program, the WIA program, as well as the Aging Cluster as major programs this year from a federal side, and of course the Aging Cluster from the state side. Essentially, we test the Aging program every year, as it constitutes the vast majority of your state programs, and we would not be able to meet our required coverage without testing that program. So it is tested essentially every year. So any questions related to the items within the actual audit report itself? All righty. Moving on, you'll also have with you this letter here. It says report to the executive committee. This is our AUC 260 auditors communications to those charged with governance, what used to be called Statement of Auditing Standards number 114 letter. These are our required communications year in and year out by auditing standards. These standards have been around now for 25 years, making sure that the governing bodies are aware of what is happening during the course of the audit. I'm just gonna hit a couple of things in here, so just so that you're aware. The first one being the adoption or change in accounting policies. The COG did implement GASB statement number 101, related to compensated absences this year. What is that? Well, the COG has always had vacation payable on the books at the full accrual level. GASB statement 101 required that the sick leave that has been accumulated be evaluated for that is more likely than not to be paid out in cash through the force and actually used as sick leave versus being carried and used for retirement. So with that, you will see a slight uptick in that liability for the year. That was not an overly material item, or we wouldn't consider it material. But you will see if you flip over to page 6, we have what we called our uncorrected misstatements. So instead of restating the financial statements for that change, for that $25,000 change as of 7/1/2024, we just flowed that expense through the financial statements for 2025. It does not affect fund balance, does not affect the operations of the COG. It's simply an item on the full accrual statement of net position and statement of activities items that are within the financial statement. So from a fund balance perspective, there is no effect from that. Any questions related to compensated absences? All righty. Moving on from there, I just mentioned the one uncorrected misstatement we had, which was a beginning balance item related to this implementation. We did have of course, we had the emphasis of matter paragraph, which we're required to put in this communication as well, that you'll see in there on page 2. We did not have any significant issues or significant difficulties performing the audit this year. We had no matters that required a significant consultation outside of our standard audit team. What you'll see on page 3. Page 3 is not only our responsibility, but your responsibility under not only under our government auditing standards, but just our AICPA rules as it relates to independence, making sure that we are independent from you in both fact and appearance. So you'll see those items there. Other than that, the last piece that's items attached here, you'll see a summary of the accounting estimates that management has used to complete the financial statements. These are items such as estimated useful life of assets, the value of the lease asset and lease liabilities under GASB statement number 87, as well as the COG's proportionate share of the net pension liability for the local government employees retirement system. Behind that, you will find significant communications between us and management. This is in this instance this year, just the management rep letter where they are representing to us that everything that they have provided is complete and factual, and that they are not omitting any significant items to us. And the last piece that's included in here is related to the local government commission's performance indicators. So you'll see this looks a little different this year.
You always say that. You always say it looks a little different.
Well, that's because the LGC changes it every year. However, this year, instead of filling out the data input workbook form in an Excel format, they now have a new upload site called Logos. It's not the most user-friendly site, but it's getting better. And you can see that the performance indicators pick out of that particular site as they are listed here on the last 2 pages. Happy to say that there are no performance indicators that the COG has to respond to the LGCs directly to. So as everything is listed on here, it is called pass. If there were an item that the council needed to provide a direct response to the local government commission, over here in this far right-hand corner, it would say fail, and then it would have an indicator in the 2025 column, as well as what the fail condition was. This arises from the information that is directly from the audit report that is input into the Logo system, previously into the data workflow form. So we have literally, your auditor has no control over this. So this is strictly coming exact what the LGC wants to see and what they believe indicators are for the metrics in which they use. So, like I said, happy to say that there are none that require a response this year. You'll notice one other item that you see audit status up at the top that says in progress. This is the final. So there is currently a minor glitch in the logo system still, whereby they require you to upload this letter before they will issue you the final one of these, but the indicators need to be in this letter. So it's kind of a catch. So we can't really upload the letter without a final letter, without having those items. So it does state in progress, but there are no changes from the actual final that went in. So with that, that concludes kind of everything that's happened this year. Any comments on this year's current audit?
Any questions?
It's gonna be boring.
Well, if you find this exhilarating, I'll be doing this for the city of Wilmington in a couple of weeks.
Baby.
I do want to mention too, GASB Statement 101 was implemented this year. GASB Statements 102 through 105 have been issued. Nothing in those will really cause a material change to the course of the audit. The only major item is GASB Statement number 104 is changing where the budget to actual general fund statement is going. So whereas that has always been a part of your basic financial statements in the opinion prior to the notes, that standard is going to require that schedule to be part of the required supplementary information, which is after the notes, but that's also an unaudited section of the audit report. So the financials, it will just reorganize where that goes. It will be an unaudited piece. What does that mean? It's just what it said. We technically do not put an opinion on that budget to actual statement. However, in the supplementary information, that information can be broken down even further, in which case we do provide that opinion on the supplementary information if you want to go that route. So just be aware that that is something coming down next year. Other than that, the statements just have there's some changes to the enterprise funds, which have no effect on the COG. And there's also some changes related to what constitutes a subsequent event and the required disclosures that relates to that. So with that, that concludes anything I had to cover today. Happy to take any questions and delve into page 14 or 15 or whatever you like.
Does anybody, Dawn in particular, any questions for Robbie? I mean, you've been through this with a fine tooth comb.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have, because I've already reviewed it and we talked about a lot of the changes that have gone into it, especially the continual care being moved out and how that's gonna. And next year, we might have to do the restatement again if it's not considered a major program next year, correct?
That's correct. If it does look like the program will float in and out, then you can elect to treat it as major for consistency purposes, in which case you wouldn't have that restatement, but you would still have that separate opinion unit. That election does indicate that you would have that opinion, that fund gets audited at a different scrutiny level if it's a major fund.
Because I believe we had it pull out as a major program a few years ago when some of the CARES, after Florence, we got a significant amount of money from Florence for, and it was passed through, but we got for rapid rehousing and stuff like that. And I think we had to pull it out at that point as well as a major unit. So we might need to consider that option. Just because I know the 7-8 years I've been here, we've done it twice. I don't know if that's considered weaving back and forth or. It's
really up to council what they would like to do, up to the COG. If you want to make that election, we certainly can do that. If you don't want to make that election, then we can flip it back and forth. The difference now between what happened now and what happened back in the late 2019, 2020 timeframe is that GASB Statement 101's been issued, which now requires that to be a restatement. So doesn't really do much other than you'll see, like I said, you'll see a ghost column in here where it's removing that fund balance from the beginning fund balance of that aggregate not major. But if you would like to see it consistently, I mean, I would recommend electing it as major because it is likely to float in and out of that realm year in and year out. So.
And remind me something, so because it was major, it left the local government services program as the only non-major.
Correct.
And so was it essentially treated like a major because in order to do the audit
Yes.
of everything else, it was an audit of just one
It
program?
essentially became its own, it essentially was tested like a major program because when you look at it, when you look at the opinion, you'll see that it states that we have audited the financial statements, the general fund, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information. Well, if the aggregate remaining fund information is just the local government services, then yes, we're testing that almost exclusively by itself in that aggregate non-major item. So.
Any other questions for Robbie? As always, Robbie, we thank you. I love to hear unmodified. Life's so much easier. So with that,
Mike, before we move on, I just have to wanted to say one thing and might as well say it, to Robbie as well while he's in the room. So Don and I did look at our audit contract and expired now. And so we will have to go out to RFP this year for audit services. So Robbie, sharpen your pencil and everybody else just understand that we will be bringing to you proposals. I don't know, do we do that? Or we select it and we just bring them the contract?
Yeah, what we did was I got the solicits and then you and I ranked them.
Rank in an interview.
And then we brought you a summarized sheet of all of the firms and who we recommend, and then you guys just.
vote on it.
Mhm.
Okay, so we'll be doing that again this year.
And so I was.
How long has PB Mayor been on?
PB Mayors for a while. I mean,
It was either PB Mayors or Robbie's predecessor organization that was it bought by PB Mayors?
So RSM, we were part of RSM, and then actually RSM sold the Morehead City and New Bern offices in December of 2020 to PB Mayors. So we became PB Mayors in 2020. 2 years later, they sold the Wilmington office. So the Wilmington RSM office is actually part of PB Mayors now as well, and has been since 2022.
So you kind of got the market cornered. Got it.
I wouldn't say it's corner. I mean, our, audit firms, we work across the state and across multi-states. I mean, we do work in Georgia and South Carolina out of Morehead City. We do everything as far, I've done audits as far west in North Carolina as Asheville. So everybody kind of moves around a little bit. So.
Well, the first couple of years, I was dealing with someone out of the Virginia office. That's who I was sending data to, and I think it was Dustin.
So Dustin, he's still with us, but he's now our data analytics specialist. He sees a few things here and there, but yes, he was a manager in our Harrisonburg office. So
Just the age of technology, we can work with everybody.
wherever the expertise is.
Yeah.
But yes, this firm or the predecessor firm has been our auditor for a number of years.
Any other questions? Okay, so I guess our first order of business is to accept the auditor's report. I'll make a motion, we accept. Your second?
Second.
Teresa? All those in favor, please say aye.
Yeah.
Any opposed? Okay.
We have on the agenda, we're two separate action items for the report to the
Yeah.
executive committee and the audit. We don't have to have two separate actions, right? We just have to accept the audit.
We just did, so we're good to go.
Just double check it, that's all we are required to
Robbie,
do.
we thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And
Thank you.
hope y'all have a great rest of your day. And
You too. Thanks again.
We'll be reaching out.
absolutely, if you need anything in the meantime, let me know.
I will, thank you.
Okay. Well, moving on, we get to the nominating committee report. That Linda, Steph, who's,
Man, I think it's really soon, literally take this.
I was.
You are now.
I am now. I'm not sure I'm prepared.
It's right here in your package.
Yeah.
it's right here.
I just all kind of do it every now, then you do a report.
We can do a verbal.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we got it. So, somebody summarize what the purpose of the action item was, of the agenda item was today. What were we trying to do?
So,
I know we've had discussions about what we're talking about doing, but
so the executive committee, the county executive committee members, the county delegates are automatically on the executive committee. The municipal delegates are elected to the executive committee by the general membership at the annual meeting, right, at the end of February. And the officers of both the entire general membership, which is all 44 jurisdictions, and of the executive committee are elected by the general membership at the annual meeting in February. Obviously, as we saw today, vacancies in between the annual elections are filled by the executive committee. But so what our purpose is today is that we put a nominating committee together several months ago to propose to the executive committee the slate of nominees to be recommended to the general membership in February, so that rather than a free-for-all election, we have a slate of officers recommended by the executive municipal members and officers recommended by the executive committee, which 9 times, well, really 10 times out of 10 has resulted in the final election results. I don't think we've ever had an nomination from the floor, but we do always offer a nomination from the floor.
Right, I was just gonna say that, there's always if somebody would like to put their name in the hat for officers, such as chair, vice chair, secretary, treasurer, they can always do it from the floor.
And I think it's worth noting that in addition to Chikima and Terry, we did have several other delegates who expressed interest in being on the executive committee. I don't actually remember specifically if there was differentiation between being on the executive committee and or being an officer. But I did forward that information to the nominating committee. I don't have it off the top of my head. I think Mayor Hayden from Southport is interested in being the Brunswick County representative. Councilwoman Bordeaux or Mayor Pro Tem Bordeaux from Sunset Beach had expressed an interest in the Brunswick County municipal seat, and she's in fact online right now. April, was that it?
Those were the only two that I can think of right now.
I know Ryan Merrill from Belleville typically says he's interested. I don't think he said
He didn't say it.
specifically this year.
Yeah.
So, I think that probably frames it.
yeah, so just correct me if I'm wrong now. So on the municipal nominees, the people that we brought in today were basically appointments by this group, but then they will go before the
Technically speaking, only appointments until the February
to fill the open terms.
fill
And then
the
all of us, if you look at the packet, all of the municipal members today that we just, all of us will go before the general membership for election. And at that point, you could get a nominee from the floor, you know, that hasn't happened. And then the second piece was the officer nominees, which the current officers are Mike as chair and Brenda as vice chair and myself as this secretary treasurer title, which I find kind of humorous that those two together, but whatever.
You have no special duties related to being secretary or treasurer.
Exactly.
It's a good position.
Yeah.
The finance committee, he would chair that.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. Yep. And so as you see was what basically the discussion we had was the three remained was what we came up with, but certainly that's open for debate or discussion.
At the annual membership meeting. Yep.
Well, no one else expressed interest, and I think the three of us, 2 out of 3 basically said keep. So that's why this draft is here. Yeah, and clarification for other folks, like automatic members are gonna be the 4 county ones at the top. So that's not what's up for nominee coming up in the annual meeting. It's just the municipal members. That's
Right, it's only listed there for clarity, so
Yeah.
people understand why we're not nominating county members.
right. Just wanted to let everybody just,
Okay, so
Does that make
this-
sense?
Go ahead.
Okay. Did it make sense to the new people? Is my
Yes.
question.
That's what I was.
So the
just-
top 4, nothing changes.
No.
Right,
Those
those are
are
automatic,
automatic,
yeah. There's only 4 counties and the 4 county delegates are automatically on the executive committee without required action or election by the general membership to ensure that each of the 4 counties have representation.
based on their bodies putting forward those people on those committees. So I'm the COG for Hanover. Gotcha.
Okay, so this is the slate as printed right here. This is the slate that will be presented at the annual meeting of the entire body.
Provided that this board
Right.
adopts this
So we need to get back to this. Okay,
Can I say before we go to a vote, like I suggest maybe next year, I thought it was kind of I don't know, because I'm still new and I committed to being on the nominating committee. I think next year, I think we do it a little bit differently, because I feel like if there are other people that were interested, I don't know if that was clear, and maybe we should have some kind of submission thing where we send out and say, hey.
well, emails did go out.
April soon, that's how I
I think there were
respond.
some people that weren't really clear though on what officers did, or, I don't know.
Part of the problem is, I'm sorry, part of the problem is most of the appointments don't happen until the January meeting.
That's
Yeah,
what's supposed to
timing
be
is-
right,
last
timing
year.
is a big issue.
So next year it won't be a problem because there will only be county elections.
Right,
Right.
So other than maybe the county members' questions as to whether they're reappointed and whether they're eligible to be officers,
yeah.
all of the municipal elections will have happened. And of course, the counties meet twice a month, so they have more opportunities, generally speaking, than most of the municipalities who generally only meet once a month to make appointments sooner in the calendar. But yes, because we have calendar year appointments, or essentially February to February appointments, the election cuts it close for
Yeah,
community.
and if we did talk about, the problem is if you try to move that to create more time, then you're up against the election. You can't move it earlier because the boards hadn't met. And you
Right.
can't move it later because you've had your annual meeting already. So it gets compressed. It gets artificially compressed.
There's an issue every year.
Yeah.
And I've been on this board since 2018. So, yeah, every year we go through this.
But I do think it deserves, I mean, certainly we've had discussions in this meeting. We've talked about these things before, and if there are others who are interested, I think what Stephanie's saying is how do we make sure everybody who, if there is anyone interested, especially in the officer positions, that they have time to consider that. I don't know how you make that in there or communicate more than what we've been doing, because we talk about it.
Maybe descriptions of what president, vice president, I mean, just to make it more.
Perhaps a living webinar that describes each position and when you should be voting and so forth. So it's a video that's always available to everyone to see throughout the year or years to come.
That's not an awful idea.
On the
Something
nominating
to-
committee,
put
maybe
something
not be
together.
off current, because it's kind of weird when you like wanted to put yourself forward, but like you're part of the committee too, so maybe not the current. Just put a call out to folks that want to be the nominating committee, just a little bit. But we were going through transition as well, which I think is a very,
I think it's just around education.
yes,
Um,
communication,
yep.
education, for sure.
Again, any nominee can come forward from the floor for any position,
Right,
I don't think.
other than the 4 county members on automatically.
Right.
that are at the top, yep.
So, all right, so we need to approve this slate to be presented at the annual meeting.
How long are these terms good for, Mike?
A year.
A year.
It's every year.
That include the county membership too.
No.
Well,
The 4 county members, 4 county members on this board are automatic in that like for me in Brunswick County, every year my board puts me to stay here. Okay, and it seldom changes, with the exception of an election change.
but the point is that the county seat is automatic, but the county makes the appointment
Right.
annually.
Yes.
So it's still an annual term. It's just that, there's not a term limit or anything. The county can continue to appoint, and frankly, the municipalities too, while it's not automatic, they're making an appointment every year, and sometimes it's the same person and sometimes it's not the same
So
person.
my question would be, is it getting communicated from here to there that it's an annual appointment?
Yeah, April communicates with the clerks very
Right.
regularly on that, and
Before the elections, I let them know if somebody's up for reelection that, hey, and then these changes may be happening, and you're gonna have to either reappoint somebody new or reappoint the person. And I send them multiple emails throughout the year.
I will say that because every county and municipal elected official is eligible, we don't communicate directly with every elected official in the 4 counties. We communicate with clerks who are responsible for appointments, or at least managing appointments for the board. And so we are relying on the clerks to communicate that, because every jurisdiction has a different appointment process, right? Sometimes it goes to the whole board, sometimes it's a mayoral appointment or a chair appointment. And so we leave it up to the jurisdictions. They already have appointments for all the other committees, as a regular standing agenda item. And so the COG appointment just sort of gets rolled into that existing process.
I'm not real familiar with how Columbus, Pender, and New Hanover do it, but I know Brunswick. I've been on my board for 10 years now, and I was a municipal elected for 4 years as well. At the first meeting in December, all those committee appointments and all of that are all done.
Yeah.
And the clerk puts it on the agenda,
Mhm.
and we go item by item. And it's always like, I'm chair for Brunswick County, and I'll always say, does anybody have a committee that they're on that they no longer wish to serve on? And if somebody says, yeah, I'd like to, like I was on JCPC for 7 years, and I had it up here with that. And I said, I'm kind of done with JCPC. Would somebody please take this off of my plate? And we made a change. But that's the way we do it. I'll assume, but it happens when you assume, that the other 3 counties are doing it pretty much the same way. No?
I've been on there, working toward 2 years, right?
Yeah.
First I heard of it.
Really?
You've had a lot of changes.
You want.
Yeah, what do you do?
What are you talking about? If you want to change or not change?
Or does your chairperson appoint you to committees?
No, we vote on it.
Okay.
There's other people that would like to serve on other committees,
Yeah.
but that's why I asked.
Mhm.
How is this communicated, right? So if additionally, what I would ask is if you could forward me that email you sent to the clerk.
Mhm.
So that I could.
You guys have had a lot of change with your clerks and managers. So that might have.
Yeah, I mean, we can go into that, but I'm not gonna buy that for an excuse, right?
Right.
Like, there's either gonna be, well, I'll just say it needs to be communicated.
Mhm.
our clerk, and if she's not doing that, we'll need to figure something else out different.
And it was presented to our clerk. Thank you for presenting it. And so when it came to us, it came in front of our board at a workshop. And the way it came was, and I didn't know if John needed something, but it was like, Teresa, you are the appointment. John would be an alternate. Is that clear? Is that the way it works?
Yes.
It's clear.
If I couldn't come, John could come to this meeting?
Mhm.
So the way the bylaws are written is Teresa, you, the person, are appointed to the executive committee.
Yes.
So the alternates, like for delegates that are not on the executive committee,
Okay.
the alternates only fill in at the annual meeting.
Only at
Oh, I see.
the, okay,
So the executive committee appointment is by name.
Yes.
And so John can, if you can't make the annual meeting, John can vote for Surf City
okay,
at the annual meeting, but John cannot fill your spot here.
got it.
We did make a change recently, or a proposed change to the bylaws, which will be on the annual meeting agenda, that the same situation isn't necessarily true for the counties, right? So is Marty still your alternate?
Yeah.
So because the county is already on the executive committee, we specified that Marty could fill in for Mike, not as the officer, because the officer is elected by name, but as the county representative on the executive committee, because Brunswick has a dedicated seat. I think the reason it wouldn't work for John to fill in for you on the executive committee is because it's not fair to the other Pender County municipalities where their regular member
Right.
doesn't have the option to be your alternate. And so in particularly like in a place like Brunswick with 19 municipalities, it wouldn't be appropriate for example, Brenda's alternate to fill her seat when there are 18 other municipalities that maybe would want that opportunity. So that alternate only sits on the executive committee in the case of a county.
Got it.
Clear as mud, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely different than any other
Yeah.
boards I'm on.
And I sit on 15 of them, so.
Yeah, the thing that's unique, I think, is that because not every municipality is voting, while she's representing Surf City, she's also representing the Pender County municipalities. Terry is also representing not just Whiteville, but the other municipalities in Columbus County, and same is true with all of our municipal members. And so the alternate doesn't make as much sense in that situation.
Got it.
Yeah, it's way different than the MPO or the RPO or any of the other ones that you and I sit on. Yeah.
Generally you have alternates, but in this case, I understand why Alan's.
It's a team only.
Like you said, I think you summarized it best. Is I represent the municipalities of New Hanover County,
Mhm.
right? Not just Carolina Beach,
Just like.
right. We're the municipal
Yeah.
members for all the municipalities.
Yeah.
And that's why it's odd with the alternate because.
Yeah, it's a different setup than most committees.
Yeah.
So we will need a motion to present this nominating committee report to the general body at the annual meeting.
So move.
Terry. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you all. All right, about the annual meeting, Alan?
Yeah, so our next meeting is the annual meeting. It's at the last Thursday in February, February 27th. And so,
I should say 26
Yeah,
at the
it's at
bottom.
26. I was just saying.
oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the agenda of the meeting last year.
Oh, I didn't change that date. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
dates are wrong. Sorry about that.
Same day,
Sorry about that.
same date.
I was actually looking at the minutes date on the annual meeting agenda, which was last year's date, but actually now that I look at the top, that date is also the 27th. So that'll need to be updated. So it is typical on our agenda to at least review the agenda for the annual meeting to make sure that everybody is on board and we approve that agenda to be the agenda for the annual meeting. This year, because we have several members, particularly who were appointed today, who have never been to an annual meeting, well, I guess Terry, you've been to the annual meeting as a guest.
Since Jesus was a little boy.
But I wanted to take the opportunity to, you know, for lack of a better term, maybe a little orientation or whatever, to know what to expect. So in your packet, you do have the agenda for the meeting. We'll start with the call to order and invocation and pledge. We'll ask for any amendments to the agenda. We'll approve the minutes from last year's annual meeting. We will present the nominating committee's slate of officers and have the election of both the executive committee municipal members and of officers. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a bylaws amendment that we approved as an executive committee, or frankly, I guess maybe technically recommended for approval as an executive committee a couple of months ago for the benefit of the new members in the room. We made a couple of changes. One, we made it acceptable for two officers to be from the same county because we actually had that situation and didn't realize the bylaws didn't permit it. And we talked about it and didn't see any reason why we couldn't have two officers from the same county. We specifically made it okay or authorized the executive committee to adopt an attendance policy. While we already did adopt an attendance policy, you know, because the attendance policy creates vacancies and sort of vacancies are sort of governed by the bylaws, we wanted to make it explicit that the executive committee had the authority to adopt an attendance policy. We also, in this bylaws amendment, as I just mentioned before, made it explicit that the county's alternate may vote for the regular member at the executive committee, as well as during the general membership. Again, like, so Marty could vote for Mike at the executive committee, but not, you know, they don't fulfill the officer role, just the county delegate role. And then finally, we made a second, all of those changes were recommended longer ago. And then more recently, we made the decision to change the name of the executive committee to board of directors. And so that change is also reflected in the bylaws. And so that amended bylaws is on the agenda. And will be, you know, assuming we move forward with recommending this, we'll get that out to the general membership for review in advance of the meeting. The next thing on the agenda we have talked about recently, again, for the benefit of the new members, the executive committee put together a dues rate study subcommittee or working group that came back with a recommendation for a dues increase. And so the dues increase is going to go to the general membership for their vote.
And just a reminder for new people, the dues have not increased in
over 20 years, over 25 years, I think.
It was over 25 years.
Yeah, so the dues structure currently is not 18 cents per capita for municipalities and 9 cents per capita on the unincorporated population for counties. It was the recommendation of the working group and then of the full board to do a two-tiered increase, so that in year one, the municipalities would go up to 25 cents per capita and the counties would go up to 18 cents per capita, which is what the municipalities are paying now. And then in year two, the counties would go up a second amount to 25 cents per capita to match what the municipalities are paying, so that 100% of the population of the region is each getting charged based on the same rate per capita for that population. And so
in the county,
but because the counties are going from a lower rate to the same rate and have a higher increase, the board thought it was reasonable to split that over 2 years rather than make it
Yeah.
all at once. But ultimately, the goal is a simpler and presumably more equitable
Yes.
cost share by having everybody pay the same rate. What I didn't say, and I always forget to say, it is a $300 base rate per jurisdiction plus that structure per capita. So it's 300 plus 18.25 cents per capita.
By the way,
And so
This particular item didn't just happen overnight. We've been discussing this for 4 years.
yeah,
And yeah, and it's, everybody was kind of reluctant to raise the rates, and when we tried to find out when the last time a rate, we could not find it. There were no records. We know it's been well over 25 years since there was a rate increase.
yeah. And obviously costs have inched up a bit for 25 years. And so, now obviously the population has increased too. So the dollar value of dues has increased, but so has our responsibilities along with that raising population. So,
And the committee, just to add a couple things, that committee consisted of members from, I think it was
Me, you, and
Brenda. So you had,
municipal members.
municipal members, county members, and the overriding philosophy that came out of that, which I really like, I think we all jumped on that right in the beginning, is simplify. This shouldn't be hard. You shouldn't need a class to teach you how this rate structure works. It's just so much per capita, and it's the same for everybody. Nobody's, and it's just real easy to understand. So I hope I think this will go through. I think it's good for us.
So, obviously that was, again, probably clear as mud, my description. I will have a PowerPoint during the annual meeting where there'll be a slide that will show the current rate and the proposed rate. So it'll be a lot more obvious. But it does raise a good point. When we do this at the annual meeting, should I be the one to discuss or describe the dues increase? Or should it be the committee, the working group, or, what's the best way? I will say certainly from a point of selling it, it's probably better if it's not coming from me, if it's coming from members, but
Since I completely forgot I was supposed to present on the it's like the candidates. I mean, I'm happy to do that if you want somebody else to get up there and do it, or you guys could do it.
It's good for someone, one Townsend say he's one of the on our committee, we had Hanover County, which is big.
The largest.
And then we had the smallest town.
Yep.
Lynn, and then I was medium-sized town. So we had a good thing there. So coming from somebody with the lowest amount of people might be the best.
And I'm happy to do it if you guys want.
Or either the highest.
I mean, it won't be long. It's just,
yeah,
this is what we're proposing.
if there are questions, I mean, we can chime in.
yeah. And I think if you don't mind, I will put your names
Mhm.
on the slide so that it's sort of clear who was on the committee and, if you want to explain the variance of representation from county, from large municipality, from smaller.
Feel like you did a fantastic job, just do it. So,
I'm just gonna say what this.
I mean, it's very simple. It was not a hard.
And in fact, we have a presentation that you gave to this board, we probably will just use that.
Use that. Yep.
It's good.
So because we haven't obviously had a dues increase in 25 years, we haven't had a process for presenting one. And so just want to make sure we work that out with you guys in advance so that it's understood.
And just so y'all know, I've only been to one annual meeting, but it's pretty big. It's a pretty full room.
Well, there's a bunch of them.
Oh, there's almost
Yeah.
300 people.
Yeah. So I mean,
But it-
everybody comes.
But I think the key thing of that presentation is to explain
Mhm.
the real overriding goal.
All you gotta say is not been
Simplification.
rose in 25 years.
Exactly. It hasn't gone up 25 years, and the goal is to simplify the rate structure. So it's easy to understand.
How did that
Definitely want to throw that 25 years out there.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah,
I
that's.
think that's the best selling point.
Right, yeah.
Right. So then after that, on the annual meeting, I'll present the annual report and the public officials directory. So for those of you, as a reminder, the Public Officials Directory is our bound directory of all the elected officials in
There's the latest one.
Yeah.
just the covers, yeah. A bound book of all of the elected officials and contact information for every jurisdiction, all 44 jurisdictions in our 4 counties, as well as the 2 affiliate members from other counties. And as well as our state and federal delegations and their contact information and their legislative aids, et cetera, as well as a directory of the school government.
Very handy then.
So I present that in the first dozen or so pages of the Public Officials Directory is our annual report, which by state law, we are required to report on our activities annually to the membership. And so I'll have a couple of slides to the general membership about, primarily financials, and also just a little bit explaining, what it is that we do, because we did just have elections and there are going to be not a lot, I think, is it 12, April, new delegates?
12 new delegates and 18 new alternates.
And of the 12 new delegates, only 2 of them were previously alternates.
Okay.
So there are going to be a lot of new folks at the annual meeting. So it is, the doors open at 5, is that right, April?
Yes.
And the business meeting starts at 6, is that right?
6:15.
15. And so
It's in Wilmington.
And it's in
Wilmington. So I'm going to go over that. I'm going to go over that next. So is there any other discussion about, is there any other discussion about agenda? We could, if you don't mind, we would approve the agenda, then I can go into the sort of description for.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All right, Steph, I need a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Okay, so that's the agenda. So the way that the annual meeting works, so first of all, it has been for the last many years, 5 or 6 years, in Supply in Brunswick County at the senior center. We got booted this year because of the early election voting.
How dare they?
Early voting, yep, I know.
How dare they?
Can you, so we were forced to find another location, so we, after April and I spent some time looking at various alternatives, we chose the terraces at Sir Tyler in Wilmington.
Probably.
Breaks your heart, Shakima?
I love the terraces.
And so honestly, what we talked about with the board is that this is probably going to be a problem every municipal election, every county election where there are primaries. And because they are partisan elections at counties. And so there will be primaries, and it's the early voting for primaries that is our conflict. So we decided that we would probably just alternate between Brunswick County and New Hanover County every year. Brunswick County location is closer to more members, but it's also very far for some members. And so going back and forth will be a little more fair. We were trying not to move it all over the place because frankly, it's difficult for the staff to do it in new locations. But so that's the setting for this year will be the terraces at Sir Tyler. We open the doors at 5 and we have a networking opportunity with sort of no real agenda till 6:15. It's a catered meal, so there will be hors d'oeuvres and things of that nature until 6:15. At 6:15, we invite everybody to their seats and we start the formal meeting. So this is our annual meeting and awards ceremony. And so we have more than just a meeting. So at 6:15, we go into the business meeting, which is the agenda you guys just adopted. And we take care of the business that is required to be take action required to be taken by the entirety of the general membership. And then we take the opportunity of everybody being there to present the annual report and all that kind of stuff. And then we have dinner. We have a speaker during dinner. We decided this year, again, we would invite Dr. Gatabi from UNCW to present to the group. And then after dinner, we do each of our departments give a brief update of what's been going on in their department over the last fiscal year, and then they each present an award to a community partner who is deserving of an award with regard to the work that each of the departments is doing.
You guys don't have to give me one this year, don't worry.
So
Put 'em on the shelf.
we'll get there. So we do the awards, and then we do some door prizes, and then we try to get everybody out of there by around 8 o'clock. We do have the executive committee sits up front at a place of honor, at the table in front of the stage. So do know that you'll be, sort of front and center. And I don't know, from the other members who have been to the annual meetings in years past, is there anything that I missed that is worth noting?
The only thing I encourage my council members to come because it is very good networking.
Right.
Boy, is it.
And so when you have your new members coming in, I usually don't run sit up front. I stay with my folks during the networking and then make sure to introduce them to everyone that I know along the way. So I just encourage everybody to, it's just easier to work with people you've met and know, right? It's basic networking. And so that's a huge value, I think, to us, which is really not part of the agenda, or it's just
one of the values of having
the values of having
this event. Yeah. And I think that, especially for new members, they probably are so focused on what happens within their jurisdictional boundaries that working collaboratively outside of jurisdictional boundaries and understanding that the problems that your community is facing is likely problems that your adjacent communities are facing, and that it might be easier to fix, or at least have somebody to talk to at a neighboring jurisdiction. How are you guys handling this? So the networking, I think, it's very valuable for those of you who have been in office for a long time. It's also incredibly valuable for the new members.
Yep.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, I haven't missed an annual since 2011 when I first got elected in the city. I love going, particularly as a county commissioner. I love going because I get to meet, like I see Katie Bordeaux is online. I have not met her yet. She's newly elected, so I'm looking forward to meeting her, as well as a whole bunch of the municipals that are new.
Right.
It's.
Yeah.
I work with all my municipalities.
I love
They
that.
all know they can call
Anybody,
me anytime.
anybody that knows me knows that.
No, I love going to the annual.
It's a
meeting.
good meeting.
Yeah.
It's a nice event.
Even my wife enjoys it.
Got to sit next to Rachel Flynn last year.
Yeah, that's why I say to her
I'm
every
just
day.
saying. It's a good meeting.
Significant others are invited.
Yes.
Mine does not want to touch it with a 10-foot pole, but if yours wants to come, they are absolutely invited.
My wife enjoys it.
And they will,
The delegates,
Thank you for that.
including executive committee members, the COG covers the cost for delegates. So it's the one benefit of being on the executive committee or being the delegate to the COG is that you get free attendance to the annual meeting. We do have to charge, because we have a pretty nice, at least, meal. We do have to charge for non-delegates, so.
Yeah, I paid for my wife, and she was $30 or something,
35.
Yeah, okay.
That's it.
I have no problem, and I like having my wife sit next to me for.
And it's.
I just like the way she goes around and apologizes for you.
I know to do that.
Yeah, has he been a good boy?
And the caterer this year is middle of the aisle again.
Awesome.
Good.
Very good.
They always do a good job.
Can we just verify the date? It's February 27th,
26th.
26th, okay.
It's February 26th.
Oh.
Yes, it's a Thursday,
Thursday.
the last Thursday of the month.
I already have it. I've done it.
Day after I get back from DC. I'm gonna be sick.
Any other questions about the annual meeting?
Guess so.
Business.
I mean, how much does mess up, I guess. I mean, I would say ball gown. It's just a
No, no, yeah.
We did have somebody come in a ball gown.
We've had them,
Yeah.
did we really?
Yeah. We have some people that go all out and dress
Yeah.
up quite a bit. Some
Yeah.
people come.
You wore a
just
tux one year.
I did wear a tux one year.
I
'cause
mean,
them-
what you're wearing now would be fine. It's just whatever you're.
Oh, no, it's gotta be a little bit better.
Okay. that's-
I remember Tegan Perry Hall from BSL came in a very formal gown one year. Because she had to buy it for the wedding and she wanted to get another use out of it.
Good for her.
And just a reminder, the town and state dinner is in Wilmington the night before that.
They were all dressed up.
That the night of the town and state dinner?
It is, but that's not for the county, that's for the League of Municipal.
Right, yeah,
I love a good dress.
for the municipalities.
It's in Wilmington?
Down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
We
when,
live at the beach. Nobody dresses.
last year, they try and spread it out. I personally don't like it. I like it when it's in Raleigh.
I do too.
Because then you can meet whoever you need to meet
Yeah.
while you're there.
Yeah.
This is kind of, I don't.
It's a statewide thing?
Tell my buddies.
Well, they have one for the counties,
Okay.
right?
No, I know, but I mean.
But this is the,
State municipal.
this is state municipal.
But I'll be in.
All right, any other questions or discussion about the annual meeting?
And we got it set. We're good to go. All right, Dawn, finance report.
Hi, I'm going a little later than I usually do, so, let me get it situated back in here. There's not a whole lot to report on our financial statements through as of December 31st. I just, presented in December. Not a significant amount has changed in a month. I will point out a couple of items. Under our COC department, our homeless services department, our HUD grant, the HUD expansion grant, that grant is now fully expended because of that grant ended in December and we combined it in with our other grant, with our HMIS grant. So that one is fully expended. Our SCRC LDD, that one is on hold. We were promised by the state that we would be getting additional money for that in October. And as far as we have not heard that it's going to be reissued or when it's on hold, I guess. They haven't released it yet, but they haven't said they're not funding it. At least I haven't been told. Is it still kind of on hold? They haven't released it?
Yes.
Okay. And
It's the feds, not the state, but
Sorry, it's the-
otherwise, that's all accurate.
So that one, even though it says 44%, we've spent what we could up until now. We're just waiting. for
It's on a federal fiscal year, so that 44% is from what
July.
expired in end of September.
Yeah, so that's the first quarter. And then we expected to get an additional grant that they haven't released yet. So that's why that one seems a little bit low. And our aging departments, everything's moving right along. The county expense is, we just have paid the bill. We did not get our funding to pay for our December expenses until December 31st. So we couldn't get those checks to move the money around, but they're right on target. And our Veterans Affairs, that one is down a little bit, but we're just getting that started going. So that one should start picking up as the year goes on. And WIOA, we're moving right along. Some of the WIOA in-house for the adult and dislocated worker, we have just started getting those going. We've got staff in place. We're starting to get more expenses coming in. So those expenses are a little down, but that's just because we were late starting those. Those were the ones that we talked about last month where we didn't have, we had a contractor pull out and then we had to take over those departments. So we had to get going.
Dawn,
Yes, sir.
educate me. What's IWTG?
That is Incumbent Worker Training Grant. We have, she has a few of those that are out there. We just haven't paid them yet. That's where they work with the businesses. And if Ginger can go a little bit more detail about that.
We retrain the existing staff. So if the company wanted to retrain somebody to either move up in the company, expand operations, and then maybe backfill with entry level people, that helps with that, or it's to prevent layoffs. because you're training them on maybe a new piece of equipment that's required for your business to be successful.
Gotcha.
And we pull that money out of, I think this year we pulled it out of adult program, but we're allowed to pull out a certain amount, and that way we can offer these grants to businesses so they can, like she said, prevent the layoffs or.
But we've signed a couple of agreements
Yes.
already this fiscal year. It's just that the training maybe hasn't happened yet, and so we haven't reimbursed them yet, and so the expenses are still zero.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Dawn. All right, staff report, Alan.
No, we need a motion.
You have more?
No,
Action,
we have a motion.
taking action on that.
To approve the
Oh, duh.
approve the financial
Yeah.
report.
Teeny moment, they come more and more frequently.
No, it's all right.
I need a motion to approve the finance report.
So moved.
Harry,
Second.
Brenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Alan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, so the first item on the agenda, and particularly for those who are new to the board, the board took action several years ago to explicitly grant me authority to enter agreements on your behalf if the agreements meet certain criteria. So either there's a limited dollar value, or there's a no matching funds of the COGs required to receive the money, or there's some clause in the agreement that doesn't commit us to the expenditure if there is some funding issues, so that if, for example, we don't get reimbursed by the state or feds, then we wouldn't be responsible. And so various different things in place so that the nature of the contracts that I'm executing on your behalf are sort of limited in scope and in risk. And in exchange for that authority, you guys requested from me that every meeting I present to you a list of all of the contracts that we have entered. And so in your packet, you have the contract summary. These are all of the contracts that we have entered since the prior presentation to you guys. Those with dollar values in the 2COG column are contracts we've signed where we're receiving funds. And in the 2 other party column are contracts we've signed where we're expending funds. Generally speaking, when we're expending funds, it's a pass-through. So for example, the ESG subaward for Good Shepherd and Domestic Violence Shelter and for Harrelson Center, while we're committing funds to that, previous presentation or previous contract summary was the agreement where we received the funds for that ESG grant from the state. So, needless to say, when we get funds from that we're going to pass through, we get the money first, or we get the contract first, and then the subaward comes later. And so that's how that works. You can see that our annual dinner facility rental expenditure is on there. The amendment you guys made last month by, to the audit contract, which technically speaking doesn't need to be on here because you guys entered that contract, not me, but this is just the summary of all of the contracts. I think Daniel's going to talk about these during his LGS update, but the first 4 are revenue contracts for technical assistance with member jurisdictions. And then we've got some grants further down the list. And happy to answer any questions you may have about the contract summary. If not, I updated the board last month about our grant from emergency management for our floodplain mitigation assistance program, where we had not been reimbursed since April. We have been in communication with the director of the hazard mitigation section in emergency management. We had been having a lot of back and forth and frankly, some issues where they had identified where they had said some costs were questionable or something like this. We got all that worked out. They say now that they are just waiting for FEMA to reimburse them. Good luck. Technically speaking, the agreement says that they'll reimburse us within 45 days. It also says that it's subject to federal funding. So the last Friday, Thursday, we have a monthly call, sometimes in person, with all the COG directors around the state. Apparently, those communities out west that got hit so hard with Helene, this is hazard mitigation money. None of the hazard mitigation projects out there have been green lighted. It seems like FEMA is just really not acting on a lot these days. And, obviously with regard to our state partners, so what they've said is that the reimbursement requests are submitted, that their regional reps at FEMA see it in the FEMA reimbursement system, but that the regional FEMA reps have zero control if and when they get paid, and they have no information. So I don't know, Chip, our staff member who's working 40% maybe on that grant, 60% of that grant is still working on that grant. Emergency management still is sending, work requests, things we're helping them with, et cetera. I told them that we were going to be giving you guys an update in hopes that they would get back to us with some kind of update. I did tell them about a week ago, I asked, is there any update on funding? And I have not received any response. That being said, there's an awful lot going on out west, and I understand why emergency management is, if they're distracted with other things, I understand why. And if we were in the middle of a disaster, I think we would expect them to give us attention, maybe not in the middle, but in the middle of recovery. We would expect them to give us attention over other parts of the state. That being said, it's incredibly frustrating. And at the moment, we are cash flowing this grant, and don't really have much information other than that, we are monitoring the situation, and we think it's important work, and our plan is to continue to cash flow this grant, and we expect that one of these days we will get reimbursed. But we don't know, and we're frustrated. The other COGs that are doing this grant, so there's 4 of us, are more frustrated than we are. They are getting more pushback about their reimbursement requests. At least ours are all approved and waiting for FEMA. That is not the case with some of the other COGs. I think that is probably a reflection of our staff and our documentation and our understanding of scope of the grant and what we are and aren't supposed to do and what is and isn't eligible, et cetera. And so when they have tried to say, you can't do this, you're not doing this right, we have been able to push back, and they have acquiesced. So I think we're running the grant properly. We're just not getting reimbursed for it at this time. I don't know, Dawn, we haven't really talked specifically about the impact to cash flow. We've got a lot of different grants that are slow in their reimbursement in the local government services department, but you've not said anything to me about we're not, low on cash.
No, we're not currently running low on cash, and a lot of our, the RPO is reimbursed quarterly. So like December, we'll have to have it submitted like second quarter, which would be October, November, and December. We'll submit that at the end of January. We'll get that payment in February. So we're usually, a lot of our smaller grants, we do run a little bit behind, but I mean, we do have.
But not usually April.
No, I mean, this one right here is going on a year. We haven't gotten reimbursed from them since April of 2025. So this one is,
Unusual.
yes.
Are we using
And
balance for that?
no,
Cash.
it's, what happened was at the end of last fiscal year, if you look in the audit, you'll see there was a decrease in fund balance for the LGS departments because we didn't receive the cash and it's not part of receivables. So what I planned on doing, if they start reimbursing us, is next year there would be an increase, to kind of offset the use of fund balance. But right now we're just using cash that we have on hand. And we normally have, we have enough cash to cover that because we get reimbursed from our other grants. We have membership dues that are coming in. I'm not seeing a significant issue with cash of us not having cash for this particular grant. Not to say that won't happen if some of our other grants decrease some of our, when they had the shutdown and stuff going on. That's what we were real concerned about, was making sure we could get cash going.
So right now, it's not it's a problem. It's not a major problem.
It's not causing me an ulcer, but it gives me a little bit of indigestion.
You can manage, but it's not okay.
As you managed membership dues just now, it hit me. That statement's already gone out, right?
No, it is going out. I sent a minor revision to it to Dawn the other day, and it mentions the proposed dues
That's my
amendment.
question.
But in fact, what it does, because of the two-tier dues, actually, the next thing one of the things on my list was to update on this, but because the counties have a 2-year increase, it's a special letter this year that says what your expected dues would be this year, plus your expected dues the following year. And it has, and what we've done also is we specifically differentiated between dues and match. And so there's like a little table now of what the dues are.
So my manager doesn't give me an ear beating. The statement that's going out this month for membership dues will reflect.
And technically speaking, it's not a statement, it's a budget request.
Yeah,
The statement will go out in July.
With the increase?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, if the increase gets approved at the annual meeting, then yes,
The letter says I will update them as to what happens at the annual meeting, but for budgeting purposes, you'd always rather know that it's likely going to go up and budget for it than find out later.
Budget has begun.
yeah, because what we normally do in January or February, we send out the budget request to get us on their budget, and then I don't officially send out the invoice or statement until after July 1st, because it is for
next fiscal year.
Yeah, the next fiscal year.
I would just tell you what my thought was when you described the federal funding issue is, I got to be politically correct, because the right will blame the left will blame the right. I don't really care. But this is not the only board or issue that I have been on dealing with the federal government. The entire federal government seems to be struggling right now. And I'll just leave it that simple.
Andrea will address how HUD's struggles are affecting her department in her update.
It just comes up over and over and over again, various boards that I'm on. And it's like the whole federal government's kind of, I'm not casting blame or even trying to surmise why it is, but it's
FEMA's been significantly, historically has not been a very.
Historically has not, but it seems worse.
Yeah, it's gotten worse.
And I think, ultimately the challenge for us as an organization is our heavy reliance on federal funds. We're much more heavily reliant on federal individual jurisdictions are. I think if I remember correctly, it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 84% of our budget is federal funds, and then another 15 or so percent is state funds, with 5% or something is local money, and dues is less than 1%. So we're running federal programs predominantly, and we're reliant on federal funds predominantly.
And they're all reimbursement based. We don't get the money up front. They're all reimbursement based, so it can, like we said, during the shutdown or during the different stuff, it can present some of it.
And it's just an inherent struggle with our type of organization.
So I guess my question is, how long are we gonna cash flow this quarter? We draw a line in the sand.
The grant ends in May 31st is when it ends, and he has decreased the amount of time he was 100% in that program. He has started working on other programs within the LGS, but he's still providing a valuable
Service
to the
community.
community that's needed.
We're monitoring it. I don't have an answer for you. I think that we're monitoring it and we're hopeful that, I mean, we've gotten past the first hurdle, which was getting the state to approve the invoices. How long we're willing to now then wait on FEMA? I think we're just monitoring the situation. I do think that we will get reimbursed eventually, but I don't know.
What kind of valuable services is he providing?
That is something.
Daniel, do you want to describe the FMA program?
Sure. So Chip he's a project manager on our team, and the grant is federally funded through FEMA, run through the state, and the goal of the grant is to assist homeowners and local governments in our region with the application process to have their homes either acquired or elevated to reduce the impact to future flooding events. So I'm sure many of you all have experienced hazard mitigation grant programs, flood mitigation, BRIC. It's a similar where we're working with homeowners to try and get them through the application process so that they can pursue federal funding to have their homes more resilient to future flooding.
And these are for either repetitive loss or severe repetitive loss structures only. So homes that have flooded more than once before and claimed federal flood insurance claims on multiple occasions, and therefore are very likely to continue to have federal flood insurance claims. Federal government would rather pay to elevate those homes or buy out the home than to continue to insure homes that have flooded in the past.
Yeah.
So
It sounds like we're counting our eggs before they're hatched. That's what it sounds like.
to some extent,
It's FEMA.
And yeah, I'm not sold on the fact that they're gonna reimburse us. And so what are we gonna do if that happens?
I mean, we do have a local government services fund balance that if we did not get reimbursed, we could tap into.
How's it gonna impact the other services when that happens?
Yes, I mean, I don't know what to say. We have an agreement.
Are we contractually bound to keep this guy because we're not getting reimbursed?
I don't think we're contractually bound. Daniel?
This actually carries into, this is a good segue for what I was going to talk about in my update. So as Dawn mentioned, right, this grant sunsets in the near future, but we think having Chip on board is an asset to our organization. Prior to joining the COG about 1.5 years ago, he had 28 years of experience as a consultant working for local governments in the region. And while Danny and I are going out and meeting with many of the communities and their managers, the biggest thing that we hear at almost every community is that we need assistance with grant administration, grant management, grant applications.
Particularly CDBG grants.
Exactly.
We've been hearing a lot about recently, which he's an expert in.
That's right. And that's what Chip has done for almost 3 decades. He's got great relationships with a lot of the funding agencies and good relationships with folks in this region. And so we think it would be valuable to keep him on board. And we see a future where he's generating enough revenue to maintain his position so that it's self-supporting. I mean, in the past, since I've been here, and I've been here just about 5 months now, he's secured a grant with the town of Carolina Beach and another one with the town of Wallace. And that's not even been with him committing full time to pursuing grant applications and grant management. So we think we can make that a self-supporting and self-sustainable position due to the need in the region. But what we were gonna ask the board for today is just a commitment to, you know, to get this off the ground so that we can continue to keep the irons in the fire that we've got now, because we apply for these grants. They take time to award, they take time to issue contracts, and we need to be sure that we have the staff capacity to then go through with the project management and administration it's necessary. So we think it's going to be a self-sustaining position aside from this whole FEMA program. But we just wanted the board's support and buy-in on that.
And that, I think we will hold off on that sort of specific request of the board, I think, until we get this update. But I think from the standpoint, yeah, it is important to note that we foresee a need for the staff member beyond this grant. And so I think if the board wanted to have a discussion about cash flow and how much we want to put at risk for this, assuming we're going to get a FEMA reimbursement, how much fund balance we'd be willing to risk. I think the question really is, to what extent is the staff person working on FEMA, the FEMA portion of his responsibilities versus the rest of the stuff? Because it's true that as he works on the FEMA grant that we're not getting reimbursed for, he's spending less time on things that will become long-term sustainable. And he's already doing, it's not 50-50, but it's, sharing in each. I think that, I don't know, it's, I guess, the pleasure of the board, but.
How much have we spent already?
Got that, Lauren? I have it.
Through January to December, it's almost $48,000. And I think it was 40,000, about 80,000 right now. Between 70 and 80,000.
So we have invoiced them 102.86, and we have been reimbursed 37,884. So right now we are footing the bill $64,000.
So you're gonna go to $150,000
Well,
through May or June.
Through May.
I mean, if we don't change anything till May, but yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation.
Fund balance was sitting at just about 1.1 million.
Well, for that department, it's at 134,000.
But we could, in theory, go, but we have regular unencumbered fund balance.
Yes.
Is available. Obviously, we don't want to use any fund balance. We don't have to. So it's just a question of, is it worth the risk, I guess? I mean, I know that when your communities have disasters, FEMA is incredibly slow to pay, but they generally pay if it's eligible.
And
this is a grant.
Yeah.
This is a grant with a grant agreement between FEMA and the state, and this is a grant where it's been approved, and there is a grant agreement between the state and us. So if these were normal times, I would say, I would have no doubt that we're going to get reimbursed at some point. I think there's just a little, at the federal level, there's just a little bit more uncertainty than there has been.
And this year we also have some unencumbered dues that aren't utilized as well. So depending on how the reimbursements come in, we may or may not have to use as much as fund balance.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I think we sometimes talk about fund balance as being technically fund balance, but there are also dues that are not spoken for that some that are available.
Yeah, and they would roll into and increase our fund balance if we didn't utilize them this year. And so we do have some of those that aren't encumbered so far. So the impact on fund balance would not be as significant.
And I'll also say this, I mean, because we really need to have this local government services discussion lower on the agenda. But I mean, ultimately, it is our intent or our desire to keep Chip on and to transition him to more and more contract work with local governments. And so our intention is for him to make that transition anyway. And so if in the natural course of doing that, we did not bill 100% of the FEMA grant because there was enough other revenue, that other revenue would always take precedence. Direct work for our member governments would always take precedence. And so it wouldn't be, if we do the job that we're planning on doing, we would not expend all the FEMA money anyway.
And last year, this board voted, but we had this discussion around LGC, right?
LGS, yes.
LGS. And that we were in this transition period and that we were probably going to have to, best is the right term, but commit to get the staff to meet sustainable to meet the work that we thought was coming. And so we knew we were out on a little bit of limb, but I think Brent also has a good concern. I would just suggest that we just stay on the agenda for the next meeting as well, just to make sure we get an update. Just so we know how far we're going down that path. Does that make sense?
I will say,
how far we're
extending. Meet again till May, is that right, April?
March.
I meant March.
Oh, right, because next month is
The annual.
Oh, it would have been May, but we added March because we didn't want
to wait
that long until May. So I guess we'll meet in March and we can discuss it again in March. I mean, that being said, if it looks like it's not happening, we're not necessarily waiting on the board to tell us that Chip needs to be billing less and less to that program.
Right. And filling it with other.
How many of these projects are in a floodway versus a flood zone?
I don't know the specifics exactly. I think he's got about 54 projects total. That's 54 individual properties. To what flood zone they're in, I'm not exactly sure.
Well, there's been a plan, there's a difference between floodway and the flood zone, right? So that bleeds into the fact of a person's sanity or insanity, whether they're gonna keep building or not. I'm not willing to, I won't keep Chip employed. My thoughts on this are similar to the mayor's, but because of the instability, I don't think that we need to continue cash flow and we need to start that transition. That's just my thoughts. I understand people's needs, but at some point in time, we got to stand on our own 2 feet and start making our ways. I don't want that fund impacting those grants. It's gonna help people that aren't returning customers. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely. And I mean, we would do that anyway. I think the real question is, if FEMA never reimburses us, it's coming out of fund balance anyway. If we don't have, it would have to, because it's not coming from the identified source. And we are going to be, he is already pursuing other opportunities, but as those other opportunities start to become enough to support 100% of his salary, we got to bill it to something. And if it's not dues and fund balance, I guess the question is, do we bill it to dues and spend less money in flood mitigation, which we could do, or do we just bill it to flood mitigation and hope we're going to get reimbursed? And between dues and fund balance, it's kind of our money anyway, and it doesn't really matter what we're paying for his time with.
Can we stop that?
Stop what? You mean, can we not fulfill the grant duties?
That's what I was asking, if we're contractually bound by the grant and continue his.
I think the way that the grant is written, we would just not be eligible to submit future reimbursements, or more likely we would, the grant is written such that we have to make a best effort to complete.
I think $84,000 is pretty substantial evidence.
I agree. And so I don't believe that there is any, I don't believe there's any restriction on us pulling back a little bit and therefore making ourselves ineligible for reimbursement.
Think, there's a lot. If we could focus more in on flood mitigation, I think this would in turn help Daniel's side of the house, right? Versus people's houses getting flooded if it could be mitigated before it got there. Right?
I mean, I think for the houses that have been flooded historically, it is a challenge to change the flooding pattern such that they wouldn't flood again. But spending time and effort trying to prevent flow of homes that have not flooded previously from flooding in the future is one of the things that is on Daniel's scope of things to address. Yes.
So the houses are flooded, there's nothing you can do to change that. I mean, it's already.
These are existing houses that have flooded at least twice in the past.
That's the reason fly away. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than there's nothing, it's gonna continue to flood.
Which is why elevating it or buying it out is really the only reasonable option other than telling the homeowner tough.
Yeah.
But we're not driving the program, right? All we're doing is assisting in.
We're assisting the homeowners in their application, and we're assisting the communities in managing the community responsibility for those applications, because ultimately, for example, we're working with, I don't know how many, Carolina Beach, for example, communities. CHIP is working with the homeowners who are the applicants, but the town is gonna be the applicant, and the town is also being one of the customers that CHIP is helping through the process.
And it's tricky. I do know we had several of these. There were some lawsuits that came out years ago where the town as the applicant, and then there was construction issues, and then suddenly the town's in the middle, and we're the people that connect the FEMA funds to the homeowner.
And unfortunately, you're the bank.
And we're the bank, and we don't have anything to do with the construction or any of that. And so we found ourselves in this mess. So I think that's why you're getting attention from Carolina Beach is we like the program. We like FEMA helping the homeowner. Just don't want to put ourselves in a position where the check falls on us.
Right.
How do we suddenly get responsible for raising houses? Right.
And I don't think it was
that's why we need help.
But I know, for example, that there was, and it may have even been not in our region, and they accidentally sent CHIP a list of applications, and he reviewed them. He said to the state, hey, there's an issue here. You need to correct this. So like he's helping, he's knowledgeable and valuable. I mean, this is why I brought this to your attention, because it's obviously a problem that we have this potentially at risk. And I wanted to make sure that was on your radar. I think that we should revisit this at the next meeting.
Yeah.
And we are obviously working to get CHIP billing to this as little as possible.
And maybe we get some reimbursement by them, but I certainly feel like we're not ready to pull the plug, but at the same time, I do agree that needs, as you sounds like monitoring before it gets to be a problem.
Yes, we are in
a problem, but could be a problem.
We are in active
There's potential to be a problem. I agree.
We are in active monitoring.
What else you got, Alan?
The next thing I wanted to bring your attention. So, as you guys may remember, you adopted the new pay plan at a previous meeting. And so I want to give you a quick implementation update. So February 1st, we're switching over to our new bi-weekly timesheet. We're switching over to where we are now paying people in arrears, not advance of when the pay period ends. We did, as Commissioner Springer requested, sent out the draft personnel policy update to implement those changes to staff. We got no comments. I think that other than me having to do a couple of final reviews on whether certain positions should be classified as exempt or not through federal state Fair Labor Standards Act, we are ready to go for a February 1st full implementation of the new pay plan. Are there any questions about that? I did send out to those of you who were on the board prior to today, another pension spike from the treasurer's office. Again, should be getting those every month. And I wanted to bring to your attention briefly something that I wasn't too thrilled about. The State COG Association, which is the COG directors, I was not at their last meeting because Daniel and I were hosting an event. They adopted a resolution on not just on behalf of the COG Association, but on behalf of each of its 16 regional councils of government, which means they took action on our behalf.
Oh, that's nice.
Which I'm not, and there was not much notice. They emailed this out on December 1st. I responded back to them on December 3rd, but they adopted it on December 4th, and I couldn't be at the meeting. I had provided some comments. And it says, for example, that we have reviewed, this is about hazard mitigation plans. The COGs are wanting to get more involved in hazard mitigation. I'm not sure I want to, especially given our issues we've been having with emergency management, but that we have reviewed the hazards in our multi-jurisdictional plans and that we've validated that there's no additional hazards requiring analysis. We have not done that. We haven't reviewed. And I don't believe that the State COG Association has the authority to act on behalf of our board. And I expressed that to them, but they did. Needless to say, because I don't think they have the authority to do so, I don't think it has any impact on us because it's meaningless. But I don't like the idea that somebody's out there saying that they're doing something on our behalf when it hasn't come to our board. If this had been something that had brought to our attention, I had put it on your agenda, you had approved it, and they had said, whereas the COGs have approved it and we approve it, that's great. So I've got.
Send a letter, Ellen, as a board, to tell them not to do that.
I don't know that I want to step on any toes yet. I will express to them that I shared it with you and that I'm assuming if by a nod of heads, that is not acceptable actions on behalf of the COG board. I'll let them know that you guys weren't happy about that. And I think that's probably enough, but this is the only time that I know of that they've ever tried to do something like that. And I think because of the disaster out west and the need for more boots on the ground to try to get involved, it was important for whatever reason for them to do this, to be able to get involved in as a recipient of hazard mitigation funds to be able to help those communities. I don't want to get in their way of that. I think they probably could have written it a little bit differently, but in any case, just if somebody is going to take action on your behalf, I want you to know about it. And so I will monitor that situation and hopefully it will no longer be a problem. But what I will do is I will hunt to Daniel, unfortunately, I will ask him to actually start to perform those actions that the resolution says we have already performed so that at least, we're trying to make it true.
Driven by the high country COG.
Possibly. So I wanted to give you that update and that is all I have. Sorry for the long update.
Moving on, Holly.
I'm gonna make mine super short.
Thank
We
you.
have a new UNCW intern joining us this week. She started Monday. We're starting monitoring. Actually, I'm gonna leave after this and head to Pender County to help our aging compliance specialist monitor. There is a gala on January 23rd because Wes Davis is retiring from Pender Adult Services. That gala will help home delivered meals is where the funding will go for that. If anyone is interested in attending and wishing Wes well. Andrew Zeldin will be taking his place on February 1st, who came from the New Hanover County Senior Resource Center. And then Jennifer Sherman from Brunswick County will be moving over to New Hanover County as a social services manager. We're just switcherooing things. Yeah, she'll still be around. She'll just be in New Hanover County. And we're starting a new way to certify our senior centers called Pillars of Excellence. So we'll be learning all about that, and we'll have our first veteran referral on February 2nd for our BDC program. So we are all excited about that. Quick, thank y'all.
Thank you, Holly. Appreciate it. And Andrea, what you got?
My part's gonna be dirty, but maybe not quick now. So since we last met, on December 19th, there was the court hearing of the temporary injunction for the notice of funding opportunity that we discussed at the last meeting. And then at 11:33 p.m., HUD that same day released another version of the NOFO. So here on version number 3 or 4, after the court hearing, the judge didn't immediately respond. And so there was, they did issue a preliminary injunction against the one on December 19th as well of that NOFO, directing that HUD actually proceed with the original 2-year NOFO from fiscal year 24, which is what we had always intended on doing. The injunction does not yet require funds actually be obligated, but does affect the enforcement of the new NOFO. And then late Thursday, January 8th, we did receive information that HUD plans on complying with the order, including processing those eligible renewals under fiscal year 24, as long as the order is in effect. But if any point that order is no longer in effect, it reverts back to the December 19th version with very, again, condensed timelines and uncertainties and very major changes. We've been informed that if we go forward in this process, and that due date is February 9th, for the 2-year renewals, we don't have to do another application as was intended. We just have to notify them in writing that we intend on renewing all of our projects that we funded in fiscal year 24. And then we can obviously prepare for any major changes with the next notice of funding opportunity that we anticipate in the summer. The problem is they haven't told us exactly how we're supposed to notify them in writing, and those dates are fast approaching.
But we are sort of taking a conservative approach of, because this court injunction may or may not stand, we're pursuing notifying HUD that we want to maintain our renewals in case the injunction holds. And if it doesn't, and HUD does release a new notice of funding opportunity, we're pursuing a new competition that hopefully will be a waste of our time. But if it isn't, we won't be left last minute trying to hold a competition for those funds. So that either we're covering our bases.
So I've been calling it kind of a shadow competition. The good part is most of those new applicants and other folks that express interest in that funding opportunity, we had already distributed quite a bit of information. All of them have completed their narratives. The only thing that was missing was a HUD application because it was never posted. So we do feel like if that comes to it, we have stayed on top of those interested applicants. We've met with several of those projects to talk through what that looks like. So most of our even new projects that have never been funded are in a really good position to complete that process should that process have to go forward.
Because it might happen on a very compressed, most likely will happen on a very compressed timeline.
Yes. So that was our NOFO update. We did submit our LSA, which is one of the required reports for HUD, and it has been accepted. The way that that works is you get flags if your data brings up questions. So for comparison, in 2022, we had 70 flags, of which HUD only accepted 10 of our explanations. And we were in a pretty bad situation in terms of data quality at that point. This current LSA that was submitted, we had 11 flags, all 11 were submitted as appropriate responses. Those things are things like, last year you served this many more transitional housing, why is there a decrease? Or your length of time homeless for families is really nice. We explain that. We were able to explain what's going on in the community, and they accepted all of our explanations with no issue. So that's a really good place to be in, particularly with the new funding opportunities coming with a lot more scrutiny on our performance and our compliance with HUD regulations. We very excited that on 12/31, we got our contracts or our grant agreement signed for fiscal year 24. So if you do remember, our projects here at the COG for fiscal year 24 that are already been awarded had not, do not start till January 1st, which has happened. So.
Right, so we got our contract signed for January 1st on December 31st.
When the other contracts ended, so that way there wouldn't be a break in funding, because
So-
when they sign the grants, that's when we start getting the funding. So there's.
HUD finally sent our agreements for January 1st on December 30th. Appreciate it.
Gave it to us.
Yeah. Nothing like cutting it close. I was on vacation, and Alan called me to just double check something. And I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you. I was like, I figured with Andrea's program, when they were running, start, I might be hearing from one of y'all.
We are currently working on our 6-month report on our progress to the endowment for that funding. We have, for monitoring purposes, I've developed some annual performance report summaries on all of our projects. Hopefully they'll be available either on our website, but definitely to all of our projects and to our board. Because again, we want to keep that focus on accountability. We do have our plan time count. So on top of everything, we do have our census count of folks that are experiencing sheltered. Homeless is required every year. Unsheltered is required every other year. But we as a COC have decided to still do the unsheltered count because we feel like it's valuable information for our community. We're very excited. Our HMIS implementation paid for a new tool that should simplify a lot of the work that went around collecting. It's a online survey that our folks that are out there doing it can use easily, but even more importantly, it'll allow us to upload directly into our database instead of having to then duplicate efforts for Joe and I to get all the stuff from that survey into HMIS, which takes quite a bit of time. So we're hoping that'll also decrease the amount of time we can report out to our stakeholders on who's experiencing. We were able to add some localized questions that we're excited about that might be really informative to our community providers. It'll be January 28th. It's always been one day. We have reported it in the past, county by county. So usually we have 3 different dates. But since we have made a really big swing this year to do service-based counts, so HUD gives you up to 7 days from the day of your count to also count those through your service providers. So if Getting Home, our street outreach team, is working with someone on the 29th, they can ask them where they stayed on the 28th. That's particularly helpful, not only for some of our larger service providers, but for some of our rural counties where we've spent countless hours going through the woods and traipsing through places only to count 2 people. It gives us a little bit more time. We are really excited. I met with Pender at Share the Table with a Pender leadership group as well as Pender Strong. And so I think that'll help that count as well. In Brunswick County, we have a new board member from the Brunswick County Sheriff's Office. We're continuing to work towards some resource development. We provided documentation and paperwork for a new rapid rehousing project that one of their agencies are able to do. And in order to make their life easier, we kind of gave them some templates for the documents they could use and just working to support them. Then New Hanover County, we continue to coordinate services, get information out about some of our warming shelters, both in Brunswick as well as New Hanover County, and help coordinate those services. I think that's the majority, and trying to keep it as quick as possible.
I appreciate it, Andrea. We are running long today.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Is that the time count? Is that what all that?
Yes.
My correct?
Yeah, so the point time count is the 28th. We had a meeting with our coordinated entry folks. I know a lot of times we would do a lot of advertisement and have volunteers. What we've kind of found is it's a lot easier to have our service providers who are already doing this type of work be the predominant force in our counting. So you won't hear as much about it. I will also say that we did get about the NOFO and all of that. Alan asked me to mention this. We did have a request for an on-air interview on WWAY that came through at 6 o'clock on Thursday night. We have a communications policy that really doesn't allow for a quick turnaround. And so we did not participate in that interview, but did let them know, kind of how that
I
operates.
always want a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know how they expect us to do it.
Very much like this, we have a board of invested partners, and we don't ever want to speak on behalf of the entire board without giving everyone enough notice to be able to kind of chime in.
I would love that information when it's available, so I can share it with my.
Definitely do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Daniel, local government service.
Thank you. Oh, well, I've sort of gotten into my spiel a little bit early on the agenda today, but I think taking good direction from the board about how to go forth with Chip's position. The important thing that I want to remind the board is as we continue to, diversify the services that we provide, we just want to be sure that we're, maintaining the board support, keeping you up to date on the things that we're doing. So we will continue to do that. And if there's ever any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. Another thing that's worth mentioning is, so if you look at the budget to expenditure comparison sheet that's in your packet that Dawn provides, and I think this has been pretty well covered, but I just want to reiterate it. Local government services, percent of revenue received compared to annual expenditure, we're at 11% as shown. The reason that that's so low is because we operate on a reimbursement basis, and most of our large programs are quarterly reimbursements. So not only have we not been paid at all this year for the FMA grant, the COVID relief funding, ARPA, that funding has also been delayed. So we haven't received a dime of that for this fiscal year yet either. So I don't think that's really an issue on the same scale as the North Carolina Emergency Management Challenge. So if you factored in all the revenues that we should be reimbursed for to date, that number would be 39%, which is in line with the other departments. A quick update on some of the other contracts that we've signed here in the recent past. $25,000 contract with Pender County. That's to help with some plan review in the planning department. That doesn't necessarily mean that the contract will come to $25,000. We just put a not to exceed limit and we'll bill hourly as they send us work. We're also doing a charter audit with the town of Surf City. It's a $5,000 project. Actually meeting with Kyle and Carla later this week. And then we're working on the first zoning ordinance in the town of Varnumtown. So that's a project that we're excited about. Varnumtown is in Brunswick County, small community. It's actually less than 1 square mile.
Very small.
Geographically small community. And then the last contract is with the city of Southport. We're going to be facilitating a board retreat and then drafting some strategic planning documents for them. So that's what we've been up to, and look forward to seeing everybody at the February annual meeting.
I do think it's worth noting the $50,000 grant, $500,000 grant that got for Wallace.
That's right. Yeah, so community development block grant, neighborhood revitalization is a grant funding source that the town of Wallace was pursuing, and they asked Chip to help with an application. So we put together that application and just found out within the last week or two that project is funded. So that's a over $500,000 project, and we're on tap to be the administrator of that project, which is probably going to be a $50,000 contract for us.
Nice.
So that's what we were talking about, like cycling Chip off of FMA funding and onto more grant management work. We have other projects sort of in the hopper that we think have a really good chance of landing, but we just got to be sure that we have commitment to keep him on board, because there may be just a little bit of lag in the time between when his current funding expires and when cash starts coming in from those two contracts.
And I feel like, when we talked about this last time, we weren't really talking about Chip as much. It was really more about Daniel, committing to Daniel to keep this department running and have, if it requires fund balance and dues and whatever, in addition to contract revenue, that we wanted to make sure it was important. Well, the way that things are shaping up is contracts are coming, and it's really, we're not even at a point now where we're so worried about keeping Daniel on necessarily, although we're still building that. It's really, we've got enough potential work out there and people interested in stuff that's really 2 people's worth of work. And so rather than asking for commitment or whatever for 100% of one person's salary. It's more like the equivalent, maybe 50% of two people's salary, because we are building towards sustainability. And the amount of work that people want the COG to be doing is more than one person can do. So there's a need, there's certainly a need. And I think the new skill sets that we brought into the organization are filling a real gap, and people really interested in pursuing us helping them with things that we've not been able to help them with in the past.
You done?
That's it for me. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Daniel? Thank you, Daniel. I do appreciate you and everything you do.
Thank you.
Ginger, what you got?
Thank you, Commissioner Forte. So I update you guys routinely on going on departmentally, and everything is flowing as it should. So I don't have anything major to report there. So I'm going to take my reporting time to address an anonymous complaint that came through. It was a bit of an inquiry into how we conduct procurement and oversight to our program. So I'm just going to address kind of high level. There was an
Can I just suggest that we pick that up in the closed session that we have already on the agenda?
Even the procurement stuff?
Let's talk about it in closed session.
Okay.
Thank you.
You have nothing further to report.
All right. And we move on to my reports. I don't think I thank staff enough. I mean, we got through this, without any kind of blemishes. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. Audits always create a little angst and anxiety, but you get an unmodified audit, that's always a good thing. But for those that don't realize it, this staff works hard. I'm in here when I talk to Alan pretty much weekly, and I know what you're all doing. So I just want to say this to all the staff. Thank you. Nothing happens without each and every one of you. So I do appreciate you. All right. Do any members have any comments?
I would like to thank you, Mr. Chair. I've been hearing all the great things, and I think I agree. The value of the COG to me is not as well known as it should be, and I don't want to create more work, but I would love to get a kind of an amalgamated because I would love to let all our members know. I don't think people do realize how much the COG works for the community, and I love the regional approach. I feel like we could be doing so much more that way. But we're getting ready to take this budget ask, and if anybody wanted to know what the value of the COG is, it would probably be easy to say. I mean, I could do it, but I wouldn't give it justice. I don't know how that would be put together, but I would love to have that just to present to my members and let them know.
I will say that our annual report, which will be in the Public Officials Directory, is a good place to start, but I will.
That's okay. You don't have to do more work.
But I would welcome some input on if there are things that the annual report doesn't cover.
Yeah.
That it should. And of course, that's for this past fiscal year is not out yet. If you wanted to look at what it was for the previous fiscal year and just sort of get a sense of what the annual report is typically, that you could look in the Public Officials Directory and it
It's
would.
totally fine. Show me where to go. I just feel like people, I didn't know what COG did before I got here. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that don't know the value or don't appreciate the value because they don't know. I kind of reiterate what Mike said, but I just think it goes without saying that maybe we should talk about it more. That's all, just to get public awareness. I don't even know if city council people know what COG does. I don't.
Very little. But to your point, it's really good to talk about it, especially if you're active on social media, like myself and Stephanie and others are. So it just gives our community a great, a broader outlook of what we're doing.
Yeah, because look what Dana just talked about. I had no idea that he would help, Barnum Town zoning ordinance technical assistance. There's value in that. Thank you. That's all. I guess anyone else?
I will offer,
Hang on.
I will offer one of the things that we've done both with the MPO and the COG at different times is invite them to our board meetings and give them 5 minutes to give an overview. It's amazing that sitting council members, I'm not putting any of my council members down, just they've ever had any exposure to know what the COG does. So,
Lucky duck.
so,
Yeah.
so one of the things I would encourage you to do is if there's a specific program or the COG in general, I'm sure if you put an invite to the staff, they would show up and
Yeah.
give a presentation for your council. You know, just the 5 minutes of, here's what we do. Do you agree with that, Alan? I mean, we've done it several different, I had Andrew come in and do the homeless services. I think that was well received. So I guess my point is, obviously, we're asking them to try to push that message, but you can pull that message as well.
Gotcha. Yeah.
2 cents, and that's worked pretty well, I think, for us.
And it helped us get more connected as well, as we've been going out to resources there.
I know, like, for Brunswick County, it's all I could speak of. Alan has made presentations to my board and to most of the municipal boards at some point. He's often talking to them. I see Andrea on my campus every now and again. I know she's in Brunswick County working. Ginger has stuff. I mean, if you want a staff member to come to one of your meetings to make a presentation, I believe they'll always do it.
How was that for us?
Let me say something. I think that would be an excellent idea.
Yeah.
Just speaking as a council member,
Mhm.
I've been to the dinners and things like that, but this is the first time I've sat in and actually seen or heard what you people do. And I think that would be really good, as not speaking for all the council members, but speaking for myself. I got a little bit out of this that I see that it's just more than a title.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
$12 million a year we're spending. You have to run.
Yeah,
Okay.
my once a year agenda meetings on the same day.
No, thank you, Brenda.
Thank you, Brenda.
Does anybody else have any comments that they'd like to say before I turn this over to Noel? Okay, we need to go into a closed session. North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A3. I need a motion. Well, first of all, who does not belong in this room? Everybody here belongs here, right?
I think,
Myself, is that correct?
I think so, yeah, and staff other than Ginger, probably, and I think. Oh, correct me if I'm wrong, there's probably no action to take, so there's no need to, I mean, we'll need to go into open session